Okay, let's start. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You are all welcome to our session in the hadouta الكشفية today. And this session is going to be unique. This session is going to be special today. It's going to be in English, as it's the first time for hadouta الكشفية to make the sessions in English this time. And I don't want you to miss this opportunity. And you can advise your friends as well to join us soon from over all the world, because we have special guests today, the top scout leaders of the world. Dear all who are listening and watching us through the all channels, hadouta الكشفية in Zoom, Facebook, and all the social media applications. Before we welcome our valuable guests today, we would like to confirm that Beirut is really in our hearts. Beirut is the pride of the Eastern countries, as it's said, and we really feel sorry for what happened in Beirut. So we are all united as scouts everywhere. We are all brothers and sisters around the world. We share this conversation to Beirut, and as brothers and sisters, due to the situation happened to Beirut in terms of the crisis and damage, loss, and death. On the behalf of the organizations of this session in hadouta الكشفية, I would like all of you to have a silent moment to pray for Beirut and Lebanese people as well to overcome this issue soon. So let's have a silent moment to pray for them, please. Thank you very much all for your support and for your prayers to Lebanon and Lebanese people as well. Welcome back all of you scout lovers. What I believe is that crises and problems might happen anytime, anywhere, and in different forms. We sometimes have the ability to avoid them, but when they happen within a sudden, with no control, it leads to unwanted circumstances as well. However, I also believe in any of the crises occur, like great people become greater, as a tangible example happened in Lebanon, and specifically the Lebanese Scouts as well. They did very good job in overcoming the situation, and they were all united, working together days and nights during this pandemic for the same purpose of serving Beirut and overcoming the issue. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a space to our guest and introduce them. And we are really willing to hear from their side. Let me introduce our great guests today. Our guests are really unique, as I told you before. We have the World Organization of the Scout Movement. So our guests are going to be from the World Organization of the Scout Movement, And big thanks to the World Organization for the Scout Movements, WOSM, for their continuous support and offer to the Scout movements all over the world generally, and in Lebanon particularly. Our first honored guest today is a great leader in a great position. On the behalf of all of you, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Jemima, the chairperson of the World Scout Committee at the World Organization of the Scout Movement. Welcome, Mr. Jemima.
Thank you so much. It's great to be able to join you.
Yeah, thank you very much. We are grateful to have you here with us in our virtual meeting, hadouta Scout. And we really thank you very much for joining and supporting us in this essential time to support the Lebanon and Lebanese people. Your presence means a lot to us. Let me introduce the second honored guest today, the Vice Chairperson in the World Scout Committee at the World Organization of the Scout Movement. Let's all welcome Jemima.
Thank you very much. Nice to be with you all. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much, Jemima, for your participation and your valuable support as well. The third honored guest for today, ladies and gentlemen, is also a very special person, and she is very close to us and to Beirut situation as well. Let's all welcome Sara Rita from Lebanon.
Thank you for doing this and putting us together in this panel.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sara. So for your information, Sara Rita is also a very active member in the World Organization of the Scout Movement. Okay, so before we start the talk, let's have some pictures. Let's look at some of the pictures in the event and the action that's happening in Beirut before we start the talk. So Sama, please, can you show us the pictures or the video? Okay, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So let's start our discussion today. Let's start the session with Mr. Jemima, the chairperson of the World Scout Committee. Welcome again, Jemima. And as we are talking about Beirut situation now, how do you address the current situation in Beirut, Lebanon, and how was your feeling when the incident happened? And what can you say as a message to Lebanese people and the Lebanese Scout as well? Yes, please, Jemima.
Thanks so much for the questions. Of course, looking at the images that have just been shared and following the images that are being shared on social media and also all the news reports that still dominate the international media, it's clear that the current situation is tragic. And for those of us who've been following Lebanon for some time, it's even more tragic given that this has come on top of challenging situation in the country with the economy and also the situation with COVID-19. And my heart and the hearts of millions of Scouts around the world go out to all people of Lebanon and Scouts and Guides in particular. It really is a tragic situation. But as Scouts, we can also see some glimmers of hope through this tragedy. And I and many others have been truly inspired by the courage, not just of the Scouts and Guides in Lebanon and Beirut in particular, but all people in Lebanon and Beirut who are looking at the situation and thinking, okay, we've been through a lot as a city and as a country over many years. This is another challenge that we have right in front of us right now that we need to find a way to get through. And the courage and bravery and heroism of everyone who's putting their efforts into dealing with the situation is an example to all of us around the world. It's truly humbling, and I think gives us hope that humanity, sometimes we see the best of humanity, unfortunately, through tragic circumstances such as this. But Scouting and its response, I think, gives us hope. And I think my immediate feeling when the explosion took place was one of deep concern. And I think in a matter of minutes after the explosion took place, my immediate reaction was, I hope Sarah Rita is okay, and reached out to message her to check. And as soon as she confirmed that she was shaken but okay, then started to check on the well-being of other friends and colleagues in Lebanon. And then after that checking in on people took place, I started to think about what should Scouting's response be. And what was fantastic to see was that Scouting's response occurred entirely naturally, as one would expect. It didn't require people at world level or regional level to start making things happen. Scouts on the ground knew instinctively what needed to be done, and they rolled up their sleeves and put the needs of other people before themselves. And so then my attention was, what can we do to support the Scouts in Lebanon? And we've done a number of things that we can maybe talk about later on to help with that. If I've got a message to the people of Lebanon and to Beirut in particular, it is that we are with you. You're in our thoughts and prayers. We know that this situation will take some time to resolve. And for Scouts in Lebanon and Beirut in particular, my message to all of you is to know that your brothers and sisters all around the world are truly inspired by the service that you are rendering to your fellow citizens, country people at this difficult time. And that, I think, sets an example for other Scouts around the world when they start to think about the steps that they might take if there happens to be some tragic circumstance, whether it's human-induced or a natural disaster. But our hearts go out to everyone. Beirut is very much in all our hearts at this time. Thank you. You're on mute.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jemima, for this, fruitful and yeah, for your talk. It's really, a big support. Your support is highly, appreciated for the Lebanon and the Lebanese Scout as well. So here I need to translate a little bit for our listeners and watchers. Okay. Let me speak in Arabic, shift to the language. Okay. جريج رئيس المنظمة العالمية الكشفية يقول دعمه المتواصل للحركة الكشفية ويثمر الحزن والأسى أيضا بالحادثة التي حدثت في بيروت، وهو بشكل متواصل دائما، وهناك أعمال كثيرة قامت بها المنظمة الكشفية العالمية لدعم لبنان، وأيضا يثمن جهود الكشفية اللبنانية واللحمة الكشفية اللبنانية التي قاموا بها في هذه المساعدات، ويشكر الشعب اللبناني والكشافة خاصة بهذه الجهود التي يقومون بها في إعادة بيروت. Okay, now we can move to Jemima, please. The same question for you. So what do you think about the situation in Beirut, and how was your feeling when you have seen the incident that happened, and your message as well to Lebanese people?
Okay, so let me just start first by saying my sincere condolences to all those who may have lost relatives, friends, and wishing the rest of you, to be strong in this difficult circumstances. Honestly speaking, when I saw it on Facebook, I was shocked. It was horrifying. And honestly, I was scared. So just like Craig said, the first thing that came in my mind was, is Rita okay? Are the other people okay? And thankfully, she quickly responded to me and said she was fine. I must say that this is a time where, even though it's a difficult situation, also bring you together as one people. It brings you together not only to face the situation, but to love each other and to prepare yourselves with hope by charting a new future. I just want to take my mind back a bit to something that happened in my country just a few weeks ago, an earth tremor. And even though it was small, it shook all of us. So when I saw yours, I told myself, this is really terrifying. But for me, the best thing out of all these things is seeing very inspiring pictures of scouts coming together, helping other people, even forgetting about themselves and giving support to other people. It was very refreshing seeing scouts sweeping, donating blood and everything about it that we saw. I think that you have inspired the world. I think that through it all, you've given yourself hope and given the world hope as well, that there may be challenges, there may be tragedies, but when people come together, they surmount all these things that is seen as tragedies. And you can see that I'm donning my Messengers of Peace scarf, because you are the true messengers of peace. You have shown that you can put yourself out there in support of other people. And so kudos to the Scouts, kudos to the people of Beirut, and Lebanon for that matter. Know that we are all with you. You are in our prayers, we think about you, and we believe that you will go through this somehow, sometime. It is possible, and you are making it true. Thank you for that inspiring attitude that you have put up for all of us to see. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jemima, for this really inspiring message. It really gives a power to all of us as, members of the Scout. And this is really a big support from your side. Let's have a short translation about what you have said for our dear listeners and those who are watching us. جمايمة كانت تقول هذه الحادثة التي حدثت في بيروت جعلت وحدة وطنية ولحمة وطنية للشعب اللبناني أجمع، وهذه الأحداث التي تمر بها بلدان العالم جميعا تجعل وحدة وطنية لجميع الشعب ليكونوا لحمة واحدة، يعملوا عملا واحدا في مساعدة والنهوض بالبلد. وتأكدوا جميعا نحن معكم أينما كنا، والجميع سوف يكون في مساعدتكم، وأنتم رسل السلام لحمل هذه الرسالة الكشفية للجميع، ودائما تخصكم بالدعاء وبالذكر للشعب اللبناني وبيروت، ولن ننساكم أبدا. Thank you very much, Jemima. Okay, now let's move to Sara. Rita, please. You are very close to the situation, and you know, you experienced the circumstances in Beirut. Can you describe the situation and give us a clear picture from your side, Sara?
Yes, for sure. First, thank you really for your inspiring messages, Craig and Jemima, and all of you, for all the Scout movement and everyone around, for Beirut and for Lebanon and everything we're doing. Of course, my perspective is very different because it's very close also to the event. I mean, not very different, but kind of much closer to the event. And everyone here around, I mean, we know how, as Craig mentioned, how Lebanon passed through a year that was really difficult in terms of political instability, in terms of economy and the collapsing economy. And this was like, of course, so much more difficult to deal with, especially that it was a shock for everyone. Everyone was really not expecting anything like this anywhere in the world, I would say. And it felt the radius have really affected a lot of people around. And we're talking about kilometers and kilometers of effect, and all the glass in Beirut shattered, and half of the city got destroyed. So it's really, I mean, there's a lot of damage around, and there's a lot of people that are homeless. We have now 300,000 people that are homeless, have 171 or almost 171, maybe more dead people, 6,000 wounded. But also, I mean, hearing all those messages, hearing all the talks that people are saying, hearing every support we're getting, and the compassion of people around the world is really important in addressing the situation. And Lebanese people are resilient. I mean, we are resilient, we do face challenges, we do get on with things, and we think bigger, and we have dreams and goals, and that doesn't disappear with this kind of, but it shakes us down for sure. And what is, I mean, what Craig said is really the hope that we saw in those young people, Scouts, and also volunteers and people all around that really went to the streets. I mean, the Scouts were hours after the explosions. They were already scanning and assessing the needs. And the next day at 9 a.m., everyone was on the streets, already having a task, already having something to do to remove the damage, to make sure that those people that are homeless, which many of them stayed in their homes. They didn't even leave because they didn't want to lose their belongings, every means to them, everything that they've built all their lives. They were all there. And we worked with them. We cleaned for them. We did a huge response that I can talk about later also, about how Scouts can actually respond in a crisis and how much they're prepared, even if they're not prepared for this kind of crisis, but they can actually be the main humanitarian actor that would respond in the first seconds after and be there for everyone. So yes, I mean, it was an earthquake that we felt. It was felt in Cyprus, but also there's been seeing, as you said, Jemima, as well. I mean, this whole population put their efforts together and be like show this solidarity and just like try to respond to the needs and help that are most in need, even if we're all affected in some way, but we just remove this on the side and we try to help others. And yes, that's what happened. But also we're really glad to have all the support also to be able to inspire people to do what the Scouts are doing. Yeah.
That's really great. Thank you, Sara, very much for your talk. As I said before, you are very close to the situation. And I don't know if you are going to translate a little bit some of what you have said, or that's going to be better. If you can help me, yeah. So a little bit, yes, please.
Yes, I'll be short. مرحبا جميعا، وعن جد اللي سمعناه من جمايمة ومن كراك كان كتير ملهم حتى نعرف قد في دعم وقد في مساندة من كل العالم لحتى نكفي باللي عنا اياه هلا. وانه عن جد هو الشيء اللي صار يعني كلنا تضايقنا منه اكيد كثير، لانه ثاقب بس ما كان حدا منتظر هيك شيء اكيد، ولا بمحل بالعالم حدا بينتظر هيك شيء، بس كنا قاطعين بفتره صعبه بلبنان من الاساس، من الاقتصاد اللي كان عم بينهار، من الانستابيليتي اللي عندنا اياها، يعني مش معروف شو رح يصير بكره وكيف رح نكمل وكيف الناس بتشتغل مع بعض حتى نقدر نوقف على اجرينا. واكيد صار في يعني اللي صار بسنتين، يعني تدمرت نص المدينه، مات فوق ال 170 شخص، صار عندنا فوق 6000 حدا انجرح، و150,000 تقريبا بلا بيت اليوم. وبس رحنا نحن بنشوف قد ايه الكشاف كان عن جد مهم، الامل اللي اعطونا اياه، لانه هن وغير ناس نزلوا على الارض ساعتين من بعد الانفجار، بالاخص الكشاف، مسحوا المنطقه، شافوا شو الاحتياجات، وثاني نهار على بكره الساعه 9 كانوا كلهم عم بيشتغلوا بطريقه منظمه. هذا الشيء بيعطينا امل بالعالم، بيعطينا امل بالمبادرات الفرديه لحتى نوقف حد هالعالم اللي كانوا ببيوتهم وما كان بدهم يتحركوا من بيوتهم حتى بعد ما تدمروا، لانه عن جد بالنسبه لهم هيدا حياتهم وبدهم يبقوا حدا. ساعدناهم قد ما فينا وعم نساعدهم ليقدروا يكملوا بهالمشوار تبعهم بمحلاتهم. واكيد راح احكي اكثر عن المبادرات بعدين. شكرا. ترجمت منيح؟ Did I translate
very well.
Cool.
That's really great. Thank you very much, Sarah, Rita, and we are all together for supporting Lebanon and Beirut as well. Yes, so let's go back to Jemima, please. We have very essential question here to address, as we know that we are, scouts, and the scouts are always ready in terms of helping and supporting others. So if we are talking here about scout rules, so the scout roles are very noticeable, everywhere, as we can see. So we would like to address here a question: what are the roles of scouts in organizing and dealing with volunteer initiatives in any disaster or any crisis occurred or happened?
Thanks for the question. It's a great question, actually, because it goes right to the heart of what scouting is all about, and the scout method, and the fact that when times are good, we are an educational movement. We provide amazing programs that help young people to develop skills that are going to help them through life, not just in the future, but right now. And so the curious thing is that scouting is not a humanitarian agency, but we do provide training to young people with the skills that prepare them for situations that they could never imagine. And I think it's fair to say that most people could never imagine that a city could experience an explosion like the explosion that came down on Beirut. But the proof of the value of the Scout program and the educational experience that we provide young people is that it equips them with both the skills and, importantly, the values that put others before themselves. And so whilst we don't go out to pretend and be a humanitarian agency, we're not seeking to compete with humanitarian agencies. We do provide young people with the skills and the values to step up in those moments of crisis, moments of tragedy, when society calls on those who have those skills and values. And that's what I think is so encouraging about what we've seen, is that clearly within the program in Lebanon, Scouts are equipped with the skills and values to respond, which is why you saw such a natural response to the tragedy. It didn't require weeks of mobilization. It was instantaneous. And that speaks to the true value of Scouting as being both a local and a global movement. We're present in 1.5 million communities around the world, and Scouts in villages, towns, and cities know the challenges that they face during the good times, but they also know the role that they have to step up and serve during difficult times. So I think Scouting does have a role to play in the immediate aftermath in either natural disasters or human-induced disasters, and also for the long term. And in many disasters around the world, often you see agencies coming in from the outside to help for a short period of time, and then they go. The beauty of scouting is that it's permanent. It's there before, during, and after a crisis. And long after the international community has come in and helped with the response to this situation, scouting will still be there, picking up the pieces, working with people who've been affected physically and mentally over a long period. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, Jemima, for the talk. Jemima is the chairperson of the World Scout Committee. As we say, thank you very much for this fruitful information. So let's do a little bit of translation for our, listeners and those who are watching us. So, جريج كان يتكلم عن دور الكشافة في المبادرات في أي حدث أو مصائب راح تحدث في أي مكان في أي بلدة من البلدان. فكان يتكلم عن دور الكشافة، دائما يكونوا مستعدون في هذه المحن، وأي حادثة راح يكون لهم دور بارز نفس ما حدث هنا في لبنان. كانوا لحمة واحدة وكانوا فريق واحد يعملون في جمع جميع المخلفات أو المتكسرات لبناء هذه المدينة العظيمة. Okay, that's great. Thank you very much again, Craig. Yeah, let's move to Jemima, please. Jemima, we would like to talk about the skills of volunteers. So what skills do volunteers need to be ready to help for any crisis, if we are talking about the scout skills that they need to make any voluntary work, please?
Thank you very much. So I will just say through what we learned through the programs, the skills, our values, and I'm going to start even with the values first, because as scouts, first we need to be compassionate enough. We need to love enough. We should be able to be ready to go out there and help other people. We should be humane enough and be ready to support each other. We need these values in us to be able to, get there promptly and as is needed. But then when we come to the other skills, I know that even as we start scouting from be a Cub Scout up there is so much that we learn. We learn about first aid. We learn about communication, even how to respond to a situation. We learn about all these things, which if the situation has not occurred, we see it as just, natural. These things just happen. But when the situation occurs, then all these things that we have learned over the time comes up. And let me add one thing to this. Scouts come from various backgrounds, and we have come together. So we have nurses, we have doctors, we have teachers, we have everybody within the movement or the organization, I would say. And that also really helps in times of crisis, because then those who have got these skills, not only just as skills, but as their career or profession, quickly come together. So the skills plus the values that we have, when we put all these things together, it helps to arrest situations or to make sure that things are happening very well. I must also add that another very important skill that we need in this situation is good communication. Because apart from reaching out to others, there is the need for us to tell the story, for others to be inspired. So all come together to help us as scouts, first, to face the situation, secondly, to help with the situation, and finally, to tell our story to the world, to inspire and motivate all others. just in case such other situation happens somewhere else.
Thank you very much, Jemima. This is really very useful information about the scout roles as well, and the skills that the scouts need. I mean, this is really essential things for any scout to get and gain. Let's do a little bit translation here. So جمايمة كانت تتكلم عن المهارات التي يحتاجها الكشافة والمتطوعون في إدارة المصايب أو المخاطر. فكانت تتكلم الشيء الأول الذي نحتاجه هو الحب، أن نحب بعضنا البعض ونكون لحمة واحدة لنتخطى هذه الأزمات، ويكون هناك أخلاق عبارة عن خلق كل واحد يتحلى بالأخلاق الحميدة، وروح التعاون يكون موجود أيضا في جميع المتطوعون للعمل مع بعض لحل هذه الأزمة. Yeah, thank you very much, Jemima. Now let's move to Sara, please. So we can ask you a question here regarding to the situation. So how do you see the impacts of cooperation between the community, the relevant institutions, and the scouts as well? So the connection and the cooperation between these institutions together in Lebanon, please.
Thank you for this question. Well, in crisis, there's not much collaboration that is done beforehand. It's more like then what we do together on the ground, in the field, and then shapes into a collaboration afterwards. And that's what we experienced with the Scouts as well, and the different NGOs and the personal initiatives that some people had. So as I said before, the Scouts were already scanning the area 2 hours after the explosion. And then the second morning, we received calls from many Scouts so that were not sure if we were doing stuff at the association, at the federation level or wherever, but they wanted to contribute. And that's how everyone, as we know in the Lebanon, we have this the federation in Lebanon that combines all the associations that are from different religions, backgrounds, regions. And we tried to coordinate as much as possible the initiatives that every association and every group did in their own association to respond to the needs. And that was really exceptional, because in one way we coordinated organically even between the associations first, internally. When, for example, one of the associations was taking care more or cleaning the houses and recycling the garbage and the glass and the shattered glass and the wood and the metal, for example, while the other association was more, Scout Association was responsible to, for example, distribute food for the displaced people or the people that were not anymore in their houses, or that were in their houses but that could not cook because they didn't have anything to cook with, for example, in this picture. So some NGOs heard that the Scouts were doing these kind of initiatives, so they came, also talked to the person putting the post on social media saying, we can help you with this, we can cook for you, we have a better kitchen, equipped kitchen, and that can support more families that way. So it's a kind of collaboration that went organically and went really by personal initiatives, but that was tremendously inspiring to see how much people can collaborate together. And in this picture, for example, we can see that the Scouts wrote some messages for the people that received those food boxes and the meals, saying that we're with you, we're next to you, we're smiling, we think of you. And
yeah, this is really inspiring here. So this is really inspiring messages. I mean, it's a kind of, inspirational messages to all those who are participating, giving them big support. I mean, like, yeah, I see in Arabic and some of them even in English.
Yes. And some other Scout associations were, for example, transporting as well, coming from the south or the north or the Bekaa to actually help in Beirut. So a huge collaboration that happened at the level of the federation between the associations. And just to also tell you on the impact of the Scouts, I mean, we all scarf, and when we're working, no one knows from where we are and what association we're from or anything. It's just the scout scarf. And when we were walking, like I was walking even at some point with the scarf on, and then someone stopped me and said, well, you scouts, I mean, you didn't come to my house yet. My house is there anytime. I'll be there, even if just help me, because I cannot do I cannot clean all and remove all and save all my belongings without you. So please come to my house. And that shows the trust that people have in us. I mean, it's amazing to know that, knowing from where we are, who we are, without taking any name, they just gave us their number, shared their location, and told us to go to their house and help them figure out how they can.
Can you tell us about the previous picture, please, Osama? Here is the picture of Amro Hamdi. I can see that he is in Lebanon, like supporting Lebanon, and I can see that you are with them. So can you tell us about this, please?
Sure. So as you know, and Craig, I think we'll talk more also on the support, all the support that we got from the organization of the Scout movement. Amro Hamdi, who's the regional director of the Arab Support Center, came to visit us a few days ago. He left today to actually support us in our mission and to support the Scouts by telling them that we're really there for them, to help them move forward and to continue their mission. And that was a meeting that the Federation did to actually recognize all the efforts that the Scouts are doing in their own associations, and to make sure that they have this kind of line of coordination that is there, and that the Federation can support them in also linking them to the official channels and the army and the government and whatever is there that can actually help us in our mission. And we heard a lot, we had a lot of calls from the army, we had a lot of calls from NGOs that show us how disciplined we are and how respectful we are when we can actually help people. And that's why they called us to actually support them in different missions that they had as well. And that's the example of Scout. I mean, it's not a partnership that we have signed with them beforehand, but it's rather something that happens after the crisis. And I think we can leverage on that to make sure our partnerships are even stronger now, especially the partnerships that we have at world and regional level, and that we can implement more in action at national levels. And we're striving to do all the time in World Scouting anyway. So that's in brief the cooperation that, I mean, there's much more, of course, but I'm trying to be succinct in the way I explain things here. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really great. I mean, Sarah, a member of the World Organization of Scouts and Movement. So yeah, as you say, there are a lot to say. There are a lot to say about the cooperation between the community, the institutions, and the Scouts, as well as you have got like a lot of Scout units there in Lebanon. So can you translate a little bit? I mean, your speech. It's gonna be better if you can help me with this. Yeah.
But you made it longer with the pictures.
Briefly. Yeah, briefly, just briefly, please.
بالنسبة للتأثير تبعنا بالمجتمع، عن جد العالم كانت عم ترجع لنا كمرجعية دايما ككشافة، وكانوا عم يشوفونا لابسين نحن الهندام الكشفة، وبس يشوفوا الهندام الكشفة ما بيسألوا مين نحن، ما بيسألوا معية، ما بيسألوا شيء، نحن كشاف، وبيجوا بيطلبوا منا انه نحن ناخذهم ونروح على بيوتهم حتى يشيلوا كل الضرر اللي صار بالبيت عندهم، اللي ما بيقدروا يهتموا فيه لحالهم. حتى حدا وقفني انا مع الهندام الكشف تبعي وضلنا بليز 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 تعالوا عنا لانه عايزينكم حدنا. فهيدول النقط اللي بيخلونا عن جد نحس قد تاثيرنا كبير بالعالم. وبنفس الوقت كمان الاتحاد كاتحاد كشافة لبنان كمان بيجمع كل هالجمعيات اللي اخذت مبادره شخصيه من الافواج ومن الناس انه ينزلوا على الارض، وان كانوا من سور، من طرابلس، من كل الميلات من لبنان، من شمال ومن جنوب ومن وعن جد بالاتحاد نحن مثل ما شفنا صور لعمرو حمدي اللي هو المدير الاقليمي العربي اللي اجى تيزورنا وفل هلا اليوم من بعد ما عن جد دعمنا وفرجنا قد ايه كل المنظمه العالميه للحركه الكشفيه والاقليم العربي خاصه داعميننا بنشاطاتنا وبمهمتنا اليوم، وداعم الاتحاد بانه يجمع هالجمعيات اكثر واكثر، وعن جد الاتحاد يعني بدوره كمان انه ينسق بين الجمعيات. مختصر مفيد اكيد.
Thank you very much, Sarah, for the translation. So thank you very much, Sarah, a member of the World Scout organization. Yes, now let's move to Ahmed, please. Ahmed Hassan. So Ahmed Hassan, you have the mic. You can introduce yourself as well to the audience. I would give you the chance to introduce yourself to them. And then we would like to hear from you that the Arabian Scout support to Lebanon as well and to Beirut. Yes, please, Ahmed.
Thank you, Haitham. I will speak in Arabic first, just to introduce myself. After that, I will translate in English, okay? أهلا بكم جميعا. أنا اسمي أحمد حسن، مدير الاتصال والشراكات في المنظمة الكشفية العربية الإقليم الكشفي العربي. طبعا برحب بالجميع. جريج توربي هو رئيس اللجنة الكشفية العالمية، وجمايمة نائب الرئيس، وسارة ريتا عضوة اللجنة الكشفية العالمية. بتشرف جدا بوجودي معاهم النهارده. انا ما كنتش متحدث، ولكن انا دخلت مخصوص فقط يعني علشان انقل لهم تحيه الاقليم الكشفي العربي على دورهم الرائع في اللي بيقدموه والدعم اللي بيقدموه الكامل، سواء كان للبنان او للاقليم العربي في كل الاحداث الاخيره. واحنا كاقليم عربي يعني بنعمل كفريق عمل ضمن المنظمه الكشفيه العالميه، وطبعا بالتعاون وبالعمل مع اللجنه الكشفيه العالميه. فكل الشكر والتقدير ليهم. بنقل لهم طبعا التحيه باسم كل قائد وقائده في الاقليم الكشفي العربي لكل الدعم اللي بيقدموه لينا. فشكرا لكم جدا. I will switch to English, okay? First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Craig for his wonderful interaction with all that is happening in the Arab Scout region. And really, I want to share a secret with you all that Mr. Craig was one of the first donors who donate to help the scouts in Lebanon through the donation platform. And I saw it and I sent thanks for Mr. Craig on behalf of all scouts in Arab region. And also, I would like to thank the members of the World Scout Committee for their wonderful role and their great support during the past period during the COVID-19 pandemic and during the Lebanon crisis also. And among them today is Jemima. Thank you, Jemima, for all your effort and support that you are doing. And Sara, Rita, who was and she's still present among the Lebanese Youth Scouts to do their duty toward their communities. Finally, I would like to thank Lebanon Scout Federation and Lebanon Scout Associations, all the scouts in Lebanon, for their great actions that inspiring us around the world, and all the support from our side. And God bless Lebanon, Beirut in our hearts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ahmed Hassan. So Ahmed Hassan is the director of the community development and partnership, and he is a media man as well, participating in the Scouts. Thank you very much, Ahmed.
Thank you, Haitham. And thank you for hadouta Kashfaya to invite all of these great people today.
Yeah, you are all welcome, Ahmed. Yeah, big thanks to the supporters and the organizers of this session as well. Yes, so let's have a wonderful talk with Mr. Greg. Greg, the chairperson of the World Scout Committee in the World Organization of the Scout Movement. So welcome again, Greg. Craig, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you okay.
Yes, that's good. So we heard about the initiative that launched by the World Organization for the Scout members for Lebanon. So can you tell us more about this initiative, which is launched by the World Organization for the Scout movement, please, in Lebanon, regarding to the current situation in Beirut?
Certainly. I'll maybe go back a step and just reflect on a point that I made very early on during this call. which is that naturally Scouts in Lebanon have stepped up and have responded to the situation, obviously without requiring any external support. However, obviously the scale of this tragedy is significant, and that has got many people outside of Lebanon who are friends of Lebanon thinking, if I can't be there in person to help, what can I do? And that's why we've seen responses at the level of other National Scout organizations and associations. So in France, for example, which has a long history and relationship with Lebanon, Scouts Guide de France have been pushing their members to contribute to a fund to help with the situation. And other individuals have been reaching out to us to offer support as well. Now, within the World Scouting setup, we have a very strong collaboration with the World Scout Foundation, and we have something called the Scout Donation Platform. And so very early on in the aftermath, we discussed the viability of establishing a special project to try and encourage as many Scouts and other people around the world who wanted to donate money to help the cause to do so. And the initial target was set at $10,000, and we've now increased that to $20,000 because so many people are giving generously today. I'm pleased to say that we're at $8,400. And if there's anyone watching who would like to put their hand in their pocket and share whatever they can, we know it's difficult during these times, but every little helps, then go to donate.scout.org and pledge your support. In addition to the Scout donation platform, we've benefited from a very generous donor who's donated a significant sum of money, and that has been matched by funding from the Messengers of Peace, which Jemima spoke about earlier. So many of us outside of Lebanon who would love to be there right now, working hand in hand with the Scouts, we are trying to do our bit from a distance to help you in a way that we think we can help, which is by generating the funds that at the right moment in time we can pass to Lebanon to support the Scouts with their efforts. We've also benefited from trying to leverage some of the relationships that we have. So you may be aware that some of the Society of St. Vincent de Paul schools in Lebanon, Scouts meet there. And last year, the International Confederation of the Society of St. Vincent de Paul bestowed on World Scouting special recognition for its humanitarian work. And very quickly after this tragedy occurred, the Society of St. Vincent de Paul reached out to ask if there was any way that their members on the ground in Lebanon could help as well. So we've been doing our best, not on the ground, but from a distance, in trying to help with the effort there. And we will continue to do what we can to support in that way. That is our commitment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Craig. The chairperson of the World Scout Committee as to the World Organization for the Scout Movement. This is really, very, interesting information that you have mentioned about this initiative, and Lebanon is going really to thank the World Scout Committee for this effort, big effort that you made and the World Scout Committee as well. So thank you very much, Mr. Craig. Yeah, so back to you, Sarah. Sarah, the same thing, but now in Lebanon. If we are talking about the Scout initiatives that's undertaken by the Lebanese Scout in the current circumstances. So Sarah, can you tell us about the initiatives that the Lebanese Scout have made there in Lebanon, specifically in Beirut?
Sure. Based on what Craig said, for sure, that lifts up the spirit on and makes us really continue more and more and feel that there's no obstacle to what we can do. And I think that's really important. And I mean, we've seen values in action, if we want to say. I mean, we lead by example and we learn by doing. And it's true, we're prepared through our education to be able to be next to each other, to communicate with other people. And that helped us really in organizing at the same time in terms of skills, but also at the same time to be near the people there. And today we have around 5,000 scouts every day that are in the either preparing food or doing some field work and helping out people in their own homes. I think we reached around 100,000 service hours already, and that's like huge as an amount if we think of the whole days that people are spending exactly in really rescuing and helping. So the first, I said, I mean, we were doing an assessment of the damages. The second, scouts were already trying to rescue people, and we saw so many posts on social media where people said, I mean, the scouts came from, we don't know, but they just felt there was someone in the house, they were removing the damage and they found us and they took us to the hospitals, and that was like an enormous feeling of joy and at the same time of responsibility that young people that are above 16 years old, and these are the people that are allowed to actually do the work and not in the kitchens or somewhere else. I mean, when they feel a huge amount of responsibility towards their community and a huge amount of support that they want to give to the people. And that was the first thought. And then at the same time, scouts were already, as we said, I mean, with wearing their masks, with all the COVID-19 regulations, I mean, wearing masks, wearing gloves that protect them from glass and any kind of material that could be harmful. They had their shovels, started like removing all the rubble that were scattered in the homes, in the streets. I mean, we can see in some pictures how they're putting the house again in a normal shape to be able to host some people, and to like the beds were and the windows were removed completely, all the glass was gone, the wood frames were put there, and some houses, a lot of houses actually were temporarily closed with some nylon or some wooden frames where people could actually stay in their home without having the rain come on top of them. And it rained in the past. It's also in August, but yeah, I mean, we were there to support the people in that regard. And at the same time, we were preparing food, distributing hot meals to hospitals that didn't have any meals, for example, or because 3 of the main hospitals were destroyed. So they had to evacuate the people, and the scouts were there to actually start up the operation in like cleaning and removing the damages and trying to rehabilitate at least a floor of like the emergency area for the hospitals. At the same time, they were recycling, and see also the responsibility of the scouts in recycling the materials, the glass, wood, the steel, the metal that was there, to be able to actually use it and send it to NGOs that are working on the recycling. And they also helped in schools and in religious centers, whether churches or mosques. They were there also rehabilitating the areas as much as possible. And now this is like the first phase that we're talking about. But now there's also a need to start visiting the families, start cooking with them or supporting, and at the same time to help the kids that are in those families that were all scared to do some activities in scouting and relieve some stress that they've been through. And when we see all this, I mean, it's really, I mean, again, it comes back to the relation that we have with the people and the value that we express when we talk with the people around us and how much we support them. So already 5,000 scouts per day is a huge amount of number, and there's so much more that want to help. And that's amazing, really, to see. Or in general, the initiatives that we're doing, from rescue to damage, like removing damages and all that kind of stuff, and all the destruction, and at the same time recycling. And now we're thinking already of the recovery, how we can do that. And at the same time, just to say that we're setting up as much as possible listening ears and centers for scouts to come back also and be able to express what when they were and how much affected they are because we don't deal with this information all in the same way. So the psychological support to ours is really essential in this mission, because it's not easy to see, have the city to see people under all the rubble, and that's really tough also for the Scouts. But they're happy to do it, and they're super proud of what they're doing. So that's I mean, they're really the hope of a new generation that is coming up in the country. بدك ترجم.
Yeah, that's really great, Sarah. What you have, I mean, done there, you have done a really good job, and really it's a tough job there, like working almost 24 hours a day. I mean, you have mentioned like a lot of, I mean, like you have mentioned, I don't know how many hours there, but you said it's really a big number. So that's really a big effort made there by the Scout in Beirut as well. So can you translate a little bit, Sarah, please?
Sure. So عن دور الكشافة وعن شو كانوا عم ياخذوا مبادرات الكشفيين كلهم. نحن اليوم تقريبا كشاف على الأرض عم نكون وتقريبا سجلنا 100,000 ساعة خدمة اللي هن عم نسجلهم باللجنة العالمية للحركة الكشفية، وهذا الشيء بيشرف إنه نشوف قد إيه الكشفيين هن عندهم مبادرات شخصية ليقدروا ينزلوا على الأرض. ومن المواضيع اللي عم نعمل أول شيء أكيد مثل ما قلنا بلشنا بإنه يتفقدوا المنطقة المنكوبة إذا بدنا ونشوف شو فينا نعمل. وتاني نهار الصبح من بعد الانفجار دغري كان عندنا يعني كان عندنا تقريبا من 5000 كشاف عم ينزل على الأرض بالنهار لحتى يبلشوا يشتغلوا على الأرض. ناس طلعوا عالم من تحت الردم، في ناس عن جد يعني العالم شكرونا بشكل مخيف قد ايه انه نساعدهم لحتى يقدروا يطلعوا ودوهم على المستشفيات. في ناس في كشاف كانوا عم بيزبطوا عم بيشيلوا كل الردم الموجود بالمدارس بالجوامع بالكنايس بكل المحلات لحتى يقدروا العالم ترجع تفوت عليها. في ناس كانوا عم بيطبخوا لحتى يقدروا يأمنوا أكل للمستشفيات اللي تدمرت، للبيوت اللي ما عندهم بقى محل يقدروا يطبخوا فيه. وكمان كان في كشافين عم بيشتغلوا على كيف بدهم يفكروا لقدام شو بيقدروا يعملوا من ناحية وكيف بلشوا اوريدي يشوفوا العيال يحكوا معهم يشوفوا كيف بيقدروا يتخطوا هالمشكله ويخلقوا لهم مثل نشاطات للكشافين بقلب المناطق تبعولهم لحتى والولاد اللي تضروا كمان لحتى يقدروا يتخطوا الستريس اللي عم يقطعوا فيه هلا. وكل هيدا عن جد ببين قد ايه نحن بنتعلم بالممارسه وقد ايه نحن بنقود بالمثل. وعن جد ككشافين نحن عشنا القيم تبعولنا بهالايام بكل شغله عم نعملها. وكمان لانه الحمايه من الاذى كثير حطينا محلات لحتى نخلي يكون عندنا مركز سمع للكشافين لحتى يقدروا يخبرونا ويشاركونا شو حسوا شو اذا في شيء ضايقهم لحتى يشاركونا فيه ونقدر ندعمهم بروجيا يعني كمان لحتى يقدروا يتخطوا هالمرحله ويكونوا هن كمان مكملين لقدام وقادرين يكملوا بهالمهمه. وكل اللي قالوا كريج قبل عن المساعده اللي عم بتصير من ناحيه المنظمه العالميه للحركه الكشفيه، من ناحيه المكتب العالمي، من ناحيه اللجنه العالميه، صندوق التمويل، عن جد حدنا وعم بيساعدونا لحتى نقدر نكمل انه ما في شيء بوقفنا ككشاف وفينا نعطي كثير للمجتمع تبعنا.
Thank you very much, Sarah, Rita, an active member of the World Organization of the Scout movement. Thank you very much. Yeah, so it becomes at the end of our session today. So let's finalize things. So let's start with you. Jemima, please, your final words before we finish the session. Yes, please, Jemima.
Scouts of Lebanon done so well. Your swiftness of response. Finally, I think that you have been an inspiration to the rest of you. Our hearts are with you, and our hearts are with you as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jemima, the Vice Chairperson of the World Scout Committee at the World Organization of the Scout Movement. Thank you very much. So Craig, can you have the final talk? What can you say about, I mean, this? Let's end it out.
Yeah, I've got two final messages. The first one is a reminder for anyone who wants to donate to the Scout donation platform to go to donate.scout.org, find the project, and whatever you can give, please give generously. The second message that I have is for all the Scouts in Lebanon who are working hard to deliver incredible service to the people of Beirut at this difficult time. And that message is thank you. Thank you from your 54 million fellow Scouts from all around the world for living up to the promise that you've made to do your duty to help other people. You are a true inspiration to so many. So thank you, and stay safe, look after yourselves and look after each other. And when the time comes, I look forward to being able to visit and to thank you in person. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Craig. The chairperson of the World Scout Committee at the World Organization of the Scout Movement. So thank you for this message. It's really helpful and supportive for the Scouts and the Lebanese people as well. Let's translate a little bit this message. I feel like we really need it. جريج كان عنده رسالتين لكم جميعا. يشكركم على الجهود التي تقومون بها والعمل المتواصل الذي تقومون به. يشكر الكشافة اللبنانية على جهودهم المتواصل والعمل المتواصل بالليل والنهار، ويتمنى لو كان معكم في الحدث هناك في لبنان في بيروت بالأخص، لكي يكونوا معكم في الحدث، يشارككم ويساعدكم يدا بيد لجميع الحركة الكشفية ومساعدة لبنان وبيروت. Thank you very much, Craig, the chairperson of the World Scout Committee. Sara, Sara, the final talk for you before we finish the session, please.
Thank you for organizing this talk, and thank you really, Jemima, for joining. Thank you for all the support that you're giving us, for all the inspiration also that us by seeing how much impact we can do more and more and more in the future, and for your kind words. I just want to say that we really want to ensure that Scouts, I mean, with all that they're doing, they're really relevant in the society. And every time we talk about this, and when we see this kind of crisis, we see how much they're essential and intrinsic to, I mean, society needs them around them. So that's really something inspiring to build a future and to see how we can extend this and continue to be supportive and share our practice and doing with other people around the world. So again, I mean, what Craig said in terms of supporting us in the Scout donation, I thank every single person that is doing this and supporting us through the Scout donation platform. That would be really great to have your support and to share the experience that we're experiencing here to other people around us as well. And that's it. I think altogether, Beirut stand on its feet again, and I'll be happy to see that. So thanks again.
Thank you very much, Sarah, the member of the World Scout organization. And yeah, let's call it a day. Before we finish this session, I would like to thank our honor guest today, Greg, the chairperson of the World Scout Committee at the World Organization of the Scout Movement. Thank you very much. And I would like to thank as well Jemima, our honor guest today, for being with us, supporting us as well, and supporting the Lebanese Scout. Thank you very much, Jemima, the Vice Chairperson of the Scout Movement Committee. And finally, thank you very much, Sarah, for everything that you have done with us, the member of the Scout movement, the World Scout movement as well. And I would like to thank the organizers of hadouta الكشفية as well. We don't forget Dina Suma. Dina Suma is the organizer of all of this. So thank you very much, Dina, for all the efforts that you have done here for the Scouts as well, and for producing the live events of Lebanon and Beirut as well. And we would like to thank our director, Usama, as well, and Mr. Abdulaziz, and all the family members to hadouta الكشفية who are organizing, working also very hard with all the members as well, with all the Scouts, so to produce the Scout movements and the Scout duties as well every day. So it's going to be spread around the world. As Jemima said, the final message is that we have the hope that Beirut is going to stand up again, and it would be better because they have a great people. So thank you very much again, everybody, for watching us, for supporting us. And don't forget, even if you cannot help hand in hand, we can all support them, pray for them, and donate for them. Thank you very much. It was really a pleasure meeting you. It was really grateful to have you here in this session, and have a nice day.